The next lot of paintings I'm going to show you are from my Vanuatu exhibition, and I thought it was appropriate to show you those works first because you can relate to those sort of subject matters. Now, the first painting I'd like to have a look at is one of a man sleeping under a tree. Now, a number of trees on the beach. Now, you might think that's a rather strange subject to paint, but for me as a Westerner, I found it quite interesting, and it reminds me of walking along the beach and seeing these people just relaxed and chilled, and it looks like a great place to be for that man. Now, here is a photograph of the man sleeping, and there's some things that I decided to make a change. So in this case, there's two canoes underneath the man, and it's a bit difficult to work out really what they are unless you're up close, so I decided to change that. So now I'll just step out of frame and we'll compare the photograph of the man sleeping with the painting that I've done. Now, what you'll notice with those two paintings is I've cleaned the colours up. I've added a dog in my painting and a young boy who's walking around the corner in bright clothes. And the reason for that is so then your eye goes to the man and the dog, but then after that your eye goes to the back of the picture and goes out. So I've cleaned up some of the colours, I've made it much more brighter than what it normally would be, and just made a few minor sort of changes. Now, obviously, I've not worked from a drawing, I've just taken photographs. Now, the same is this next painting. When I went to the marketplace, it's a place that I found really interesting because there's lots of tropical fruits and vegetables there, and I thought that was an interesting subject to paint. A little daunting, no doubt, because there's so many things that you've got to get right. A lot of people and vegetables and fruits and things. So it's a very difficult subject. Now, I'm going to show you, here is the original photograph that I have just here. It's quite dark, and it's dark inside, but the way the photograph's been taken, it's very bright outside. So I had to moderate those, I had to change it. So in the photograph, the contrast is very, very strong. So I'm now going to compare the painting that I did with the photograph. So I'll just step out of frame and we'll have a look at those two. Now, what you'll notice is in the painting, I've cleaned up a lot of the colour and I've removed some things. So I've removed some people, I've changed the colours on the clothes, I've changed quite a number of things. I've made the outside of the market much brighter and a lot more bushes. And you can see I've put in a lot of detail and just tidied up lots of things. Now, this painting took quite a considerable amount of time. In the end, I was quite pleased with it. So it's a painting where your eye moves from one person to another, and there's a lot to see in that sort of shot. Now, the next painting I have a quick look at, and this is made up out of my head. This is quite different from the other pictures that were made from photographs. In this case, I took a photograph of the jungle. It's actually in Fiji, but it's so similar I've used it for Vanuatu. And it was just one photograph of a bit of jungle with a bit of water off in the distance between some of the trees. And what I've done is I've added a pathway through it, so then you can see this woman, and the woman is going up with a child to meet her husband who's been fishing further up. So have a look at that. So that's a little bit more of a complicated sort of story there. But it's mostly about the vegetation of the jungle that's right on the water's edge. Now, the next painting is of a man who's making a canoe, and with the other paintings that I've done, I've boosted up the colour, simplified some forms. Probably the biggest change in this particular painting I've done is I've removed one person who I think has got a child, and I put some colourful fabrics behind, so then it keeps your eye in a particular area. So we'll have a look at, compare the two, the photograph and the painting, and then we'll have a look at the painting. Okay, the next one we'll have a look at is a woman and a child in a village. We'll compare the two again. Once again, I've boosted up the colour and simplified some shapes and simplified the background. I made the background a little bit more interesting so your eye goes back around. And once again, there's a canoe. So I've tried to put as many canoes as I could possibly put in many of those pictures, and that helps a bit of continuity as well. So we'll just have a look at those two as well. So the examples that I showed you in this particular video has all been from working from photographs, where I've changed a few things, left things in, out. But if you're not working from photographs, you can work from life. So draw the things that aren't going to be moving at all. And then if you come to do people, you can either get them to be in a pose and sketch them from a pose, but sketch them and also use your smartphone and take photographs of them. And when you're doing your painting, you can just zoom in a lot closer. On the next video, I'm going to show you works that I've done that are not from Vanuatu and just talk about the process. So there probably should be just one other video left in this particular series on lesson 2. Okay, that'll do.